Our very special guest this evening certainly defines the word hero. He served in the Army as a radio telephone operator, and in 1967, while in Vietnam, he went above and beyond the call of duty. On December 15, 1967, serving with the 12th Cavalry, his unit came under heavy enemy fire and were forced to withdraw. 3 of his fellow soldiers lay wounded, and if left unattended, would surely die. Without thinking of himself, he chose to stay behind while the rest of his unit withdrew. Against all odds, he crossed some 50 feet, not once, not twice, but 3 times to carry these men to safety. He cleared an enemy trench and pulled the men into the trench. And for over 2 hours, he worked to keep these men alive while holding off an advancing enemy with only his rifle and a single grenade. As the enemy grew closer, he located a friendly force that could evacuate these wounded men. And again, he exposed himself to the enemy in heavy fire and crossed back and forth, carrying these men to a place where they could safely be evacuated. Without regard for himself that day, he saved 3 of his friends' lives. And on May 14th, 1970, President Richard Nixon presented him the Medal of Honor. To this day, he continues to serve his country. He has worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs. He lends himself to many veterans organizations, to the Medal of Honor Society, and he established his own foundation to help veterans to move back into civilian life. I could go on and on here because this man has served his country so proudly and in so many ways. But I want you to hear his story from him. He truly is an American hero, not just for the Medal of Honor he wears around his neck, but for his day-to-day accomplishments, serving others without ever thinking of himself. It is my great honor and my privilege to introduce to you tonight Medal of Honor recipient James Allen Lynch.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you to all of my brother veterans that are here, my Vietnam brothers and sisters, and all the men and women that are serving. And how about that color guard that presented the colors tonight? Weren't they? They were amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I've seen I've seen colors presented a lot, and they were number one. Did a great job. We're very good to have them here. To the Gold Star families, I'm always uncomfortable because what do you say? You've given a lot, and you carry that with you forever. We have some good friends, Roy and Georgette Frank, who had Heart of a Marine Foundation in Chicago that lost their son, and the pain that they suffer just continues to grow. And it's hard, very, very hard, and our hearts go out to you, and we thank you so much for you being here and for the example that you set for us. So, why am I up here? I guess if you would have known me when I was a kid, and I was and you saw me up here, you'd probably have a stroke because I shouldn't be here. Oh dear, I'm in deep trouble. See, I do this all the time because she's very rarely with me when I'm here. And she who must be obeyed. My wife, Susie. Susie, please stand. Yeah. We're 2 years away from 50. Anniversary, not years. I wish it was years. Susie's been with me through everything. In fact, the reason I'm up here tonight is a good part because of her and her standing by me for 48 years, some of which were not so pleasant. She's an amazing woman. She's very quiet, and she's a great travel buddy. But she is the rock that has kept me sane all these years. I dare not disobey her. She's a nurse. And as she told me for 20 plus years, I can kill you in your sleep and no one will ever know. And I say that at every place I go because if I suddenly end up dead tomorrow, you know where to look. So not tonight, honey. I shouldn't be here. I was bullied when I was in grade school. And I was not cyber bullied, I was real bullied. I was fist and mouth bullied. I was kicked bullied. I was somebody urinated in my tennis shoes bullied. I was bullied like that. I was pushed down the stairs bullied. It was not this new age bullying where they just tell you you're not a nice person. I was a terrible student. I had to go to summer school once because I failed algebra, which really hurt me later on when I was in Vietnam, because I thought surely I was going to die when that jet dropped its bomb right and released it literally right over the top of our heads. And I thought, oh dear Lord, we're out of here. It's over with. We're going to be crispy critters. And had I been in high school and had I learned math, I would have known that when an airplane is flying at 350 plus miles an hour and drops a bomb, that bomb don't fall straight down, you idiot. It falls at an angle. Even Marines know that. No offense. I'm Army, I'm sorry, I apologize. But you're big guys and you can take it. I also want to apologize to the Air Force and the Navy because this year we took the President's Trophy. We won the Army-Navy game and we beat Air Force, which surprisingly is pretty darn hard to beat because I think they got all the smart people. I mean, really, you know, you kind of weigh it and you go, let's see, I get to go to a nice barracks every night, I get eats and sheets, foxhole and people shooting at me. What to do? You know? Easy choice. That's why I went infantry, because I'm smart. But I didn't have a good growing up. I was bullied. I was picked on. I'm a big guy, and when you don't fight, when you're a big guy in high school back in the 50s, you're just fresh meat. And nobody told me that I was going to end up like this. I thought I was as dumb as a box of rocks. In fact, I did not do well in high school. I did not do well in grade school. My dad was of the old 1940s, you know, World War II, Depression type people that dear God, we so need them today. And I remember going to parent-teachers meeting before the Privacy Act and all of this weird stuff took over, and the parents would sit behind the student, and the teacher would go around the room, you know, and go, Mrs. Johnson, your daughter's just very smart. She's a wonderful student. And Mr. Johnson, your son's really good, and so on and so on. And then they came to me, and they went, Mr. Lynch, your son is behind 3 weeks in long division homework. And I felt the hand of God. Only it was my dad, and I thought it was the talons of an eagle descend upon my shoulder and pinch my collarbone together. And he, with the nicest words, said, to the teacher, well, he'll have those by the end of next week. And I thought, oh, he's so nice. Why does this hurt so bad? And every night for the next week, I did nothing but my chores. When we lived on a small thing, so I had to feed the chickens, I had to weed the garden, cultivate the garden, and cut and do all those things. And then I had to do my homework. And then my dad, who worked 2 jobs, because back in the 50s, women didn't work, they took care of kids, and they ran the house. My dad would come home and check my homework at any time after 10, 11 o'clock. And if it wasn't done right, I get woke up. And not in a nice way, like mom does. Honey, it's time to get up now. No, he would strip the covers and throw me out of bed like my drill sergeant did a few hundred years later. And my dad taught me a lot. And when I got out of high school, barely, I wanted to control my life. Again, you'll see that I'm not the sharpest pencil in the pack. Because I wanted to control my life, I decided to enlist in the Army. Yes, sir, I'm so smart. It just amazes me sometimes how brilliant I am. I'll never forget that day when the bus pulled up to the induction station and we got off the bus and people started telling me things about my parentage and where I came from and how I looked and something about being so tall and other things not stacking up that high and just all kinds of stuff that drill sergeants said to you. And then they weren't nice like mom. They didn't get me out of bed nice. They blew a whistle when they came through the barracks and they started tipping over bunks. And I usually got up and I had breakfast. But no, I had to clean my rack and I had to clean everything and do a buffer on the floor. And I thought I was pretty dumb. And about 4 weeks into basic training, we got called down. A bunch of us got called down to battalion commander's headquarters, and we were told we were smart enough to go to OCS, Officer Candidate School. And I thought, yeah, that's right. I'm gonna be an officer. I'll show you. So I went to 53rd Company, OCS, Night Fort, Benning, Georgia. I lasted 4 weeks. I was one of those kids, it's all about me. So I thought it was all about me when the TAC officers were mean to everybody. They were really being mean to me. And so I did what they call a DOR. Anybody saw an officer and a gentleman? That was me. Only I said, I'm done with this. My TAC officer said, hey, you can be drinking beer at 4 o'clock. It was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1300. And I said, let's see, beer? Screaming and yelling at by a TAC officer. I like beer. It makes me a jolly good fella. Whiskey's too much. Never mind. So I dropped out, and I ended up in Germany. And I was in the zone, what they call the zone, was West Germany at the time. And I was with 2nd of the 48th Infantry. I was in mortars. I trained infantry, but they put me in mortars. I hated mortars a lot. And I hated it so much I decided I wanted to get out of mortars, so I re-enlisted for infantry in Berlin, which put me, instead of 3 years, 4.5 years, and I ended up in Berlin, and they put me in 4 deuce mortars. Now, what part of 11B infantry is hard for you to understand, but they told me that the needs of the Army came before me. And so I had to learn 4 deuce mortars. While in Germany, while in Berlin, I got two Article 15. Now, for those of you that are civilians, an Article 15 is a non-judicial punishment. I think the Navy calls it captain's mast. I got 15 days extra duty, 15 days confined to the barracks, 7 days pay, and a suspended bus to E4, not once, but twice. It always amazed me when I sat on promotion boards when I became a first sergeant, and people would go, well, he had an Article 15, back when he was 18 years old, and I would go, I had 2. Yeah, people change. I volunteered to go to Vietnam because I had been bullied, as I said, and I was working through a lot of stuff, and the Army taught me how to be a man. And it was teaching me how to be a man and how to be responsible. And I was making a lot of mistakes. I was screwing up a lot, but I was also learning. And I was learning a lot. I was learning a lot about myself. I was learning that I could do things that I never thought. And that started in basic, when I had to run and sing songs. Who does that? Well, the military does it. You know, I want to be an airborne ranger. No, I don't. I don't want to jump out of an airplane. But we had to sing those songs. And I almost did. I almost wanted to jump out of an airplane. And I'm told that once you jump, you never quit. Am I right? Yeah. Huh? So I volunteered for Vietnam, and I picked 1st Cavalry Division because I had read a lot about them. And I wanted to be a part of that unit. And I got it. I got the 1st Cav. I got finally infantry. And I was very proud to put on that horse. And there was a few fights about the horse we never rode and the line and all of that. But we'll start another fight here soon. And I served in Vietnam, and I started to learn about what bravery really is. See, there's a difference between what bravery is and what bravery is not. Bravery doesn't necessarily mean you fight everybody that stands up and calls you a name. Bravery is going out under fire, like so many of my friends did, to rescue somebody. You know, I always think that this medal that I got, I could name at least 3 or 4 people right in my own company that should have had this medal. I remember giving covering fire while 2 guys ran out to get one of their wounded that was in another platoon that was hit in the middle of a rice paddy. The same day I did what I did, one of our other guys, heavy, was a big black guy, who could fire an M60 machine gun, shoulder fire an M60 machine gun, and I swear to God, you could lay a level across those tracer lines and it would be absolutely level. He was awesome. In fact, he was an amazing machine gunner, a phenomenal guy. He went out and saved lives. He didn't get the Medal of Honor. He got shot. I didn't. And always bothered me. See, because we happen to have different people that put us in for different things. I was out a little bit longer. He got wounded in medevac. I never got, the closest I ever came to getting wounded. I'll tell you this story because it's embarrassing, and I like to embarrass myself occasionally. Again, you know, I'm not the sharpest pencil in the pack, so we were in the middle of a firefight, and I'm a camera nut. I love to take pictures. And this ARA, which is a Huey armed with rockets, we call them air rocket artillery, came in, and I thought, man, that's an awesome shot. I can get that, and I can get it just perfect. It'll be hitting the village. And it was the wrong village because we popped smoke here. We said fire on everything that way, and no, they came in and fired on everything that way. But that was all right. You know, it is what it is. And I'm shooting, and I'm taking pictures, and I put my camera down. I got smacked right in the face with a piece of coconut. And it drew blood. And my buddy looks at me and he says, "You can get a Purple Heart for that." And I said, "Yeah, that's how I'm going to explain that really good. You know, how did you get your Purple Heart, Dad?" "I got hit in the face with a coconut." "Yeah, that'll work." I talked to a guy with one arm missing, and he got hit in the face with a coconut. "No, thank you." You know, Vietnam was tough, and we never knew where the enemy was. It's kind of like the war we're fighting today. Nobody back home gave a crap. No one cared. People went to work and came home. Men were dying. My friends, my brothers, my guys that I shared everything with were still in war, and I was home. They were still dying. The country didn't care. People went about their business. Oh, there was the anti-war protesters back in the 60s. Y'all remember those? I know I do. I was at Fort Hood during the Democratic Convention, and we were on alert. It was the first time in my life I ever just wished the president would stay in his White House and not come back to Texas. And then I was so glad when Nixon got elected because we no longer had to worry about the president coming back to Texas. Because we got on alert quite a lot. The day I did what I did, it was a hell of a day. I didn't do anything that anyone in my platoon wouldn't have done had they been there. I wear this for all of those men and women that serve, that did amazing things, that never got recognized. I've got a friend, a brand new friend. He's only 34 years old. He was special ops. Just took over as the superintendent of our Veterans Assistance Commission in Lake County, and we talked one day, and we were sharing war stories as veterans do sometimes, and he was telling me stuff, and I says, I never did half of the stuff that you did. He says, yeah, the difference is I can never be recognized for what I did because it was top secret. we weren't supposed to be places, or we were a place we were supposed to be and had to do other stuff and so on. See, this medal represents something. It represents something. And one World War II vet told me, he says, you know, the hardest part isn't earning the medal, it's wearing the medal. Because when you put that medal on, and where that medal is put on you, you now represent all those men and women that have done deeds above and beyond the call. And we all, if you've been in combat, you've seen that, you know that were never recognized. And you carry it and you wear it for them. That's what I do. Now, I've spent my life, because of that, trying to help veterans. I think it's extremely important that the men and women that serve this country get treated right when they come home. And I find it outrageous that we worry more about some individuals that are here under questionable circumstances, and will spend billions of dollars to take care of them, while the men and women that have served this country, that are put their life in harm's way, well, there's 50,000 homeless veterans sleeping on the streets every night. 50,000 of the men and women that protected this country on the streets, while there are others that are here under somewhat dubious circumstances that get to go to school for free, when our children have to pay to go to school, and we have to worry about sending them to school, and yet other kids get to go for free because they have a dream. See, we have dreams too, don't we? We have senior citizens that have worked their whole life for this country that are being told that Social Security is something they shouldn't be getting. It should be going to help other people in need. And yet we spend billions of dollars on foreign aid to people that hate us. We spend billions of dollars for other things. And yet the men and women that have built this country, that have sacrificed for this country, they get short shrift. I just wanted to leave that there. I want to tell you a story. I'm going to completely change where I'm at, because I think this is important too. About 3 years ago, I went out to my mailbox, and I went and I got my mail, because when you're a senior citizen and you're retired, mail is really important to you. There's not much else going on. Though, living in Illinois, I do get to laugh at the people that have to go to work during a snowstorm. I sit in my pajamas and watch, drinking coffee. I watched this one guy that lived across the street from us one day. You know, one of those guys with the long hung pants that have it down where it shouldn't be. And he was out trying to get his car out of a snowbank, at the same time hold on to his pants. And finally I couldn't take it no more, so I went out and I helped him. But anyway, I went out and got the mail, and I got a letter from a General Devine. And I figured, well, it's a letter, it's probably asking me to do something, because sometimes we get asked to do things like go to change of command ceremonies and so on. So I opened it up, and here was a personal letter from this general. And he said, "There's, First Sergeant Lynch, I want to thank you so much for mentoring a young Spec 4 that didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. As you can see, I made the Army a career." I still have that, and I take that out a lot. See, I guess the point I want to leave you with is this. We never know who we influence. See, I can't remember Spec 4 Divine at all. And I've tried. I mean, who wants to forget a guy that made general? I mean, that's one of those, moments. I can't remember him, but evidently he remembered me. We influence people, you and I. We can influence them in a positive way or a negative way. I often wonder what would have happened had I got a letter from a guy named Devine who said, "Dear First Sergeant Lynch, Thanks to you, I spent 3 to 5 for burglary because you thought I was a dud. You know, for those of you that are civilians, a dud is an unexploded round. And in the Army, we call, well, I was a dud, so I can tell you for a fact that a dud, well, he's an unexploded round, and he's really dangerous. And it was only after I became a dud that I earned the right to call other people duds, which is kind of nice, in a way. See, we influence people. We influence people. As NCOs, as officers, as moms and dads, as grandmothers and grandfathers, as uncles and aunts, as just people, what you do can change a life. And you never know when that life that you change could end up being a general. And I guess what I want to say to you is, live your life, because Lord knows America needs it now more than ever, as an example for those young men and women that are trying to find themselves. They need direction. They need positive examples. And sadly, it falls sometimes to all of us. Because sometimes mom and dad just ain't there, and maybe it all falls to grandma and grandpa, or an uncle or an aunt, or someone in uniform, someone that's going to be a first sergeant, someone that's an officer. We can change this country for the better, one person at a time. Imagine if everyone in this room changed just one person positively, what a great world this would be. Now, years ago, I was having a lot of problems, and I decided to live my life by the Rotary 4-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Is it beneficial to all concerned? Imagine if we lived our lives with those 4 rules as our moral compass. Imagine the example we would set. God bless America, and God bless you. Thank you so much.
He's good, isn't he? Thank you so much, Allen, for doing this tonight. Well, as we do every year, we like to do our Vietnam veteran pinning ceremony. And I will ask Allen to come back up on stage because he wants the honor of pinning our veterans tonight. In 2012, a proclamation was signed to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. And Fort Chadbourne is part of that. And each year we ask any of our Vietnam veterans that have not been pinned here at Fort Chadbourne to please make their way to the stage. We would like to thank you for serving, and we're very proud of you. So if you will make this way, any of you that served between 1955 and 1975, whether you were on the home front or you were across the seas, you are part of that era. And we ask you to come forward, please. Yeah. If y'all will please come to the other side of the stage and stand there. That was Norman Fagan. He was a Marine. Tell him. This is General John Compeer, and it's a airborne officer, he said. Well, he went right on by, but I know who he is. He's the bishop, Bishop Buchan, Lieutenant Colonel in the Army. What? Randy Porter. This way, Mike. This way. Mike Hagan. Sam Cryan. Bob Colquist. Jim Myers. Bill Hoekstra. Shaq Reeder. Ted Aarons. Tom Griffin. Juana Parker. Ken McCarty. On behalf of Fort Chadbourne, everybody here, we thank you guys for serving our country so proudly. Thank you.
On behalf of Garland and Lana Richards, we are going to make a presentation of $2,000 to the Lynch Foundation to assist the military get back on their feet. What else?
And Fort Chadbourne will make a donation to his foundation as well for coming out and letting us honor him. So, and we thank all of you as well. This could not be possible without each and every one of you.
Fort Chadbourne is here because of you. I think we're probably in good hands with the people that are up front here and the people that have served, and we appreciate everybody who's worn a uniform, including even the highway patrolman.
Yeah.
You didn't mention the highway patrolman that followed.
Whole nother story.
And whole nother story. Our people in uniform keep us free, and our freedom is not free. And I appreciate my freedom.
We all do.
Thank you.
Yes.
One other quick thing, right quick. This lady, the brainstorm of doing this, she's a hustler. This is her doings. It's real easy to follow her on the Medal of the Gold Star family. Fort Chadbourne is what they are. There's two ladies up here that support me. I've told people that I've always dreamt of having a blonde under this arm and a blonde under this arm. It's not all it's cracked up to be. The team that I assembled, Brent Bryan, Cody Moore, Lana, and my board of directors,
Our volunteers.
this has been an incredible ride. We appreciate the people who support us. We appreciate the people who support our military. And God bless America.